think it's very important for there to be an inclusive arena for free speech.
We can speak freely now.
Oh, not quite yet, no.
It's just really important that people have both the reality and the perception that they are able to speak freely within the bounds of the law.
Is it illegal?
It's protected free speech.
One of the things that I believe Twitter should do is open source the algorithm. So there's no sort of behind-the-scenes manipulation, either algorithmically or manually.
You know you're going to get in trouble.
Don't think he cares.
And it spreads through the media like wildfire.
Billionaire Elon Musk, who just bought into the company a few weeks ago and just made a take-it-or-leave-it offer for the whole damn thing, all of Twitter.
Can he do that?
Yes, I believe he can.
When Elon Musk is involved, you know the sparks will fly. The Tesla and SpaceX CEO telling an audience overnight at the TED conference that he sees his buyout of Twitter as, quote, extremely important to the future of civilization.
So is this all a troll or is this very real? Well, it's real enough that he filed with the SEC. It's real enough that he's saying this is my best and final offer. It's real enough that investors are now wondering what's going to happen if he pulls out and sells all the shares he already has.
He was evasive when asked about what he'd do if his offer is rejected.
Is there a plan B? There is.
And yet he wouldn't quite say what that plan B is. Some of the things he's talked about, bringing people back onto the platform, maybe people who have been kicked off of Twitter under a new world order of Elon Musk owning Twitter. Suddenly you see people back on that platform who have been banned.
That's a good thing, right?
No, yes, it's definitely a good thing.
He thinks that they aren't doing well on free speech. Well, news to Elon, Twitter does not have a free speech.
And I think that the dangerous, edges here are that he's trying to undermine the media, trying to make up his own facts. He could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think. And that is our job.
Did you say anything that might have triggered her?
If somebody's only there because Jack Dorsey was a liberal, then that's their choice and they should go someplace else. That's the fact, Jack! That's the fact, Jack!
Who's that ADL guy, Andrew? This is his worst nightmare, I think. Jonathan Greenblatt.
Yep.
It's going to be...
Jonathan Greenblatt.
I mean, if he owns the whole place, it's going to be like, go for it.
He specializes in free speech issues.
You go for it.
And the Orange Man probably going to be back, and this is unbelievable.
The stock up 13%.
Unbelievable, right?
Jumping on this news.
I think this is basically going to put Twitter back against the wall. They're going to either have to accept it through a strategic process, but there's really no way that Twitter, in my opinion, could reject this, because ultimately, from a fiduciary perspective, he put such a premium here, and obviously he has the cash, that now back against the wall, and really I think the street's going to read this as Twitter's going to get sold, and ultimately it's Musk that's going to buy it.
Until 2016, and you tweeted today, maybe pick up 9% of one of the top U.S. greenhouse gas emitters like Chevron or Exxon and accelerate their paths to clean energy. What is your initial reaction to Elon buying this stake? I'm actually really worried about him.
Aw, he is depressed.
Why is he depressed?
You suicidal?
Suicidal?
I see what you did there.
If anything in this life is certain, if history's taught us anything, it says you can kill anyone.
Yeah, I ended that a little bit macabre, a little melancholy there at the end, but I couldn't help but think that as I'm watching him go through this process. Welcome, everybody. We're live right now on all platforms, so we are live on Rumble for the second time now, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. So... And here's Brenda Edwards. So, guys, I'm having trouble again putting up comments on the screen. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, but everything works when I do it in test. But then when I try to do it live, not so much. So for now, I'm going to just read them out. So Brenda Edwards, thank you so very much for this information. VOG, BCE, Kentucky, USA. Hey, Kentucky representing. There we go. So yeah, I wanted to kind of start this off. If you're fairly new to the channel, we've been around now for 1 year, and really 6 months of it, we've been doing it correctly. Although I should say, in the end, we actually have done some good things in the past that I'm pretty proud of. So we did some great stuff in the very beginning. The formatting and the way it was done didn't get a ton of viewers and was making it a really slow start. We were doing like an hour episode every week, and then from there it would be, it was just once a week. So you're hoping that video gets all the traction. Nobody knows who you are. You got to put up more content. We later learned, among other things. So, but, as we went through the struggle, I wanted to just kind of give everybody an idea of where we started and where we're at right now and what we're about. So, we started out, this whole channel started because Jack and I, who can't be here with me today, but Jack and I had kind of, we were sitting down having conversations about all these issues that are going on. And, we talk about legislation, we talk about different things going on. And it became obvious that a lot of people that we know, amongst many others, as we've now realized, really don't know how to research their own information. And, and it's not like self-explanatory either. Like if you're just jumping on Google trying to look stuff up, you're killing yourself. It's the worst search engine in the world. And it's not because they're of an evil plot or anything like that. Their algorithm, what they make money, their algorithm's not designed to give you information as much as it is designed to give you advertising. So, and in that design comes the algorithm that works hard to put everything in front of you that you want to see. So when you're looking for something, when you're looking for contrary opinions, when you're looking for factual information that may not be in line with what you think now, then you're not going to find that on Google. It's going to fill pages up with craziness. So utilize neutral search engines. DuckDuckGo is the one that we always use, but there are others out there. But we wanted people to learn these little tricks and tips. We put some things on our website for them to look up legislation, how to find your own legislature, things like that. And then it kind of evolved. So we stumbled upon Article 5, I would say about a month or two in. And after about a month of researching it, we kind of went nuts on Article 5. And we absolutely believe that is the path to really tackle the huge problems, the ones that seem like they're so great, like spending, right? How do you tackle the national debt, right? Like there's a way to tackle it. There's a way to do it, and Article 5 is that way. I'm not going to get deep into Article 5 at this moment just because I have other videos. I have plenty of videos out there on Article 5. I just kind of wanted to let you guys know, because those that follow the channel or subscribe to the YouTube channel or follow our page or, on MeWe and elsewhere, you're going to see a lot of convention of states. You're going to see a lot of Article 5. We do a lot of updates when new things happen, when there are breakthroughs. There's a lot of movement this year. But the bottom line is, local state legislatures are the most powerful politicians in this country, and we need to get back to realizing that, right? And right now, so you know what the progress is, we're still at 19 states. We've got more coming, though, shortly. We need 34 in total to call the convention to amend the Constitution, and that gets done without the federal government being involved. So what we'll do, there'll be term limits for all government officials. That's all government officials, not just Congress. That includes Supreme Court. That includes deep state. So that creepy guy that does the black budget, yeah, him too. We're talking fiscal restraints. So think balanced budget amendment, bringing the dollar back to where it belongs as the world standard, and not just there because it's by default, but actually earn that place as the world standard. And then restrictions on government overreach, which we had a nice court decision today on government overreach. That was by Judge Catherine Kimball Mizell, a Trump appointee from nowhere else but Florida, right? So representing from Florida, she came through for us, blocked the mandates on travel. I just got off a plane myself. I didn't wear my mask anyway, but just the idea that it's no longer mandatory is awesome. So very happy to see that as well. All right, so let's get into Elon Musk a little bit. And by the way, if you're watching now, for those that are on, please do me a favor and share this video. Whether you share it while it's live or you want to jump in and share it afterwards. Hey Sheila, how are you? I see you out there. If you want to share it now or share it after, but ever since we started the topic of the Great Reset and kind of started, really talking about what the World Economic Forum is trying to lay out for everybody, our distribution has just fallen off a cliff. The first few videos of it were tremendous. We were 50,000, 80,000 views on Facebook and, about 2,000 or so on YouTube. And then all of a sudden, poof, it's dropped significantly. So, and now I think that they're starting to fall. They're around 1,200 now or something like that. So we really do need the organic sharing going on in order to get this message out. So if you're not aware, Elon Musk had he's taken on Twitter. So, and I don't know if he's aware that he's taken on a lot more than Twitter, but I put that intro video together because I wanted you to just get an idea to how the media is reacting to this, because I'm fascinated by this entire thing. Normally I could care less about this sort of thing, but right now I'm fascinated because it's not often that a guy has $43 billion to be able to just purchase a company like Twitter. Now, as the social media companies go, Twitter is not one of the big ones, even though it may seem that way. But from a user standpoint, it doesn't have nearly the base that a Facebook, or some of these other ones do. So, but the thing about Twitter is that it's often where politicians go to leave their message. It's often where people of power go to leave their messages. And so a lot of discourse can come from that. And Elon Musk apparently was pissed off at the fact that there's so much censorship on there. And I think he fully understands. We did a piece months and months ago with Dr. Shiva and his lawsuit about in Boston, over there in Massachusetts, where they're actually fighting to prove that there's collusion between, and he had a ton of evidence and was doing phenomenal. I don't see as much on that case anymore, but I do check in on it from time to time. But these things take forever, so I'm not shocked. But his case was doing wonderful, and he decided to defend himself because no lawyer would take his case. Just like the whole election, thing that went down, no lawyers would take anyone's case. Same thing for him, but this guy just happens to have 4 MIT degrees and is just a brilliant human being and decided to take on his own case and fought for this very thing and was demonstrating that the government in Boston was absolutely colluding with Twitter. They had their own hotline and everything. He was demonstrating all of this in court. And now, same things never stopped, right? And Elon Musk has made references to this from time to time, but now he's gone ahead and he's bought 9.2% of the company. Now, that makes him the single largest individual to own shares in Twitter. Now, he doesn't own the most shares out of any entity. BlackRock and Vanguard still stand atop the Yahoo Finance list. I just checked it today, but barely. Actually, that's not true. BlackRock is below Elon Musk right now. So Vanguard has a 9.22 share of Twitter. So he's 2/100ths of a point below Vanguard. So you can bet that he's on people's radar, right? And because Vanguard is not the kind of company that likes to take a back seat when it comes to owning, being top dog and owning something. And if they do, it's going to be to another company that they own, like BlackRock, right? So in the end, watching him step into this game, and I've read his attitude towards BlackRock and Vanguard is that he hopes that they'll work with him, and he hopes, like he concerns me in that way because I don't think he understands how serious these people can be, and I don't know how important Twitter is to them. So, but I would think that it is pretty important. When I watch the media meltdown, you can see the examples in that intro video where, that one woman was just saying straight out, she's like, Like if he gets control of Twitter, I mean he could control all the information and control what people think. Well, that's our job. Like literally said that out loud. I was just floored when I heard that. I was just floored when I heard that. But it's refreshing to at least hear someone say it out loud. You know, because that's we all know the media is in the tank. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, the media is on the left side. That's for damn sure. All right, you got talk radio on the right, and you got Fox News sorta on the right. You know, our second episode ever. You know, we were putting Fox News on blast because they were censoring Newt Gingrich for something that he said that was 100% true, and we dedicated half the episode to proving it. That the DAs that are on many of these cities that are being torn down and burned down by these psycho-Marxist organizations like BLM and Antifa, those cities are all run by Soros-funded DAs. And if you don't think they are, if you're out there thinking, no, they're not, go to our website. I've got links to the entire campaign finance trail. The entire thing. You can go there and just see for yourself. You're going to see PAC after PAC after PAC, all the social and safety justice PACs that fund all of these DAs in Portland, all over the place. Portland, I believe it was St. Louis. We did like 5 of them at the time. And this was over a year ago. All right, but each one that we did, we linked to their campaign finance to the state's website disclosure, not to like a Fox News article that says that they donated. All right, so we'd read it in an article, and then we'd go find the source information, and it is all listed on our website. There wasn't enough room in the description to put it all in the description because it was a lot. But if you go back, that is definitely an entertaining episode to watch. So I would encourage you to check it out because it's our second episode ever. It was long. It's about an hour and 14 minutes or so. We covered some stuff from an undercover op in some of these organizations, some of these Marxist organizations recruiting children, and then we went into that. So anyway, getting back to Elon Musk. So here he is. Now Mark Cuban was making comments regarding Elon Musk, and Mark Cuban's comments were that he thinks he's trolling him. And he thinks not Twitter. He's not trolling Twitter. Mark Cuban thinks he's trolling the SEC. And I'm kind of sitting here saying, I ain't seeing it that way. Now, there's a lot of unknowns with Elon Musk. There's no doubt about that. So we have to wait and see. And I'm curious to know what you guys' take is on this because, you know, the way I'm seeing it is like he doesn't really care if he makes money off of this. I mean, he so much has said it that I'm not really concerned about the economics, although he does believe that if he takes it private, that he can go ahead and make it more profitable and he can unlock a lot of potential that he sees that Twitter has. Now, on a personal level, I don't really like the platform. I just waited to hear Trump tweets and other tweets. Like the news always gives them to you. I never wanted to get involved with that platform. I didn't get on with Parler when that came out. I'm on there, but I don't use it that much because I don't like the way that it operates. I don't like the whole @ thing, and you got to keep, following, the way the following works and the way all that. Like I subscribe to a page if I want to see posts from it. That's it. I don't need to follow. There's no movie star that I care about enough that I want to see what they do every day. There just aren't. If I want to see your stuff, I know where to go find it, and I'll go find it. But anyway, maybe I will give it a shot if it becomes truly an open forum. And I'm curious to know in the comments as well, if you're not on Twitter now, would you get on it if Elon Musk took the company private and just opened up speech on it and allowed people to speak? Or if you're on there, would you leave if Elon Musk took it and was suddenly allowing people to speak? Because I see the issue as being, disinformation is fine. Like, it's on you to, the media is giving us disinformation constantly. I mean, the litany of garbage that came out on this Ukraine situation. I mean, with video games in the background and these stories of fighter pilots that don't exist, taking out 6 planes, 10 planes in a day or a week or whatever. And then, the Snake Island story and so do we ban all of these media organizations off Twitter and these other platforms because they've clearly been giving disinformation? No, it's up to us to figure out what's disinformation. Because disinformation, right now the conspiracy theorists, quote unquote, are beating on the media on the first wave of any story that's come out since COVID. They're up 80-1. I can't even think of the one, but I'm assuming there must have been one. But it's ridiculous how many times that these so-called conspiracy theorists with disinformation, like the Wuhan lab source for the gain of function research, Fauci's history, all of these things that people are getting thrown off of YouTube and thrown off of different platforms for talking about, and yet 6 months later, a year later, everyone starts realizing it's all true. It's just amazing to me how that operates and how that works. So let everybody speak. Let everybody say what they want to say. Let the QAnon lady talk about JFK Jr. coming through time and coming back from or going back to the past or coming into the future. I forget what it was, and saving us all. Let them say these things. Why would it's on you to figure out what's correct and what's not. We're way past the days of being able to watch Walter Cronkite on the nightly news and figure we got all the news for the day. We're way past that. We've got generations of children who are now adults who have been taught some of the most bizarre stuff and believe it wholeheartedly. They've been completely retaught history and they believe it wholeheartedly. All right? That's the world we live in today. And there's no hope of there's no hope of getting those people to turn around. They either open their eyes and red pill or they stay where they are. But Elon Musk sees all this stuff. And the difference between Elon Musk and everybody else is that Elon Musk has $250 billion as an individual. Which is, now, mind you, it's not all liquid cash, right? So, which is why even the $43 billion purchase is a little bit, he could do it. There's no doubt he could do it. But it's not like he has $43 billion, just right there in the bank. So, when it comes to stuff like that, he'd have to sell some shares of Tesla and some shares of SpaceX, probably liquidate some other stuff that he's got going on. But the beauty of this whole thing is that he has Twitter by the cojones. Twitter can't do anything. Right now, they're in a position, and this is another fascinating thing that I'm waiting. There's so many things about this that fascinate me. Number one, are they going to weaponize the SEC? My guess is yes. My guess is that it won't be long before the SEC is looking into Tesla, looking into just looking for stuff, because this is why we have regulations. All right, this is why. Ronald Reagan said this. There's nothing. If the government wants to arrest you, you're constantly breaking laws, constantly, and you have no idea you're breaking them. But they've written so many that they can walk into any business. Yeah, that's right, Scott Morris. Anything to shake stuff up. Absolutely. So that's coming from Facebook. So I still don't have the ability to pin, unfortunately. So I got to just kind of roll with and read out what I have. I will get that figured out, though, folks. Trust me. But yeah, so, all of these things that are going down, Elon Musk sees these. I think he sees these things. I mean, and this is where I say I worry for him. That's why I ended that video the way I did. And because in the end, when you start stepping, money is power, but it's not the kind of power that these people, just the mere having money, he's richer than any one of those individuals, but he's not more powerful than those individuals. And there's a significant difference between the two. All right. And I always tell this to people, there's power that comes with politics, and there's power that comes with money. Normally, if a politician's been around long enough, they have some degree of both. But in the end, if they don't have as much money as you own a massive company, they can still do more harm to you than you can do to them. They can still make your life more miserable than you can make theirs. And it's important to understand that. So my fear, is all right, are we going to start hearing that Elon Musk is depressed and, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, unfortunately, Elon Musk, God forbid, took his own life or got into an unfortunate car accident or was robbed on the street and, and it went south and next thing you know, he passed. And like, that's the kind of stuff that's been happening to a lot of people who do the kind of stuff that Elon Musk does. Now, my attitude is that it probably won't happen because he's so popular and so famous that like, it's difficult to, it's difficult to do that and not warrant, some serious, they'd much rather make him out to be a loon than I think than it would be to do something like that and try and make a martyr out of him. But it's going to be interesting when he takes it private, because taking it private, and I almost feel, I almost feel like all of these companies should be private so that there's somebody accountable. Because these public companies, nobody's accountable. And it's like, you put a face to it and say Zuckerberg's responsible for Facebook and Instagram. But it's like, he's really not. He's really not. I mean, in the end, he still technically answers to a board. I mean, he's got his stuff written in there pretty well, according to Musk. Apparently, he looked at it. So I think Musk was considering Facebook at one point, because the way he talks about it sounds like he was considering it. But I think Facebook is just far too large for even the richest man in the world to just step in and buy. So, but in the end, he can do that, and he's shaking up the scene right now. And this. The significance here is that it breaks the monopoly on information, right? It breaks the monopoly on information. And when I say the monopoly on information, I'm not saying there's no other source of information, but on the major social media platforms where, let's face it, most of my rabbit holes that I go down and start researching, I stumble upon on Facebook. Or on some social media platform. And in the end, I'll see it and then I'll have to go verify it. But like, I would have never even seen it had it not been for these platforms. So I'm actually very happy that they exist to speak to some degree, because we can't do this without them. Like, we have to have a method of sharing information. And again, that's kind of what the Patriot think tank has evolved into. So I get emails, I get messages, I get people that are commenting. If you read, if you look through our videos, you'll see that I engage virtually every comment. At minimum with a like. If it's addressing something and wants a response, then I can assure you that they get a response. But like, this back and forth that we have, I mean, I've talked to so many people, I've showed so many people, Article 5 was not dangerous, and gave them the tools and the information because they inquired, and that type of engagement is significant. You see, never win an argument on the internet. I do. I win them all the time when it comes to Article 5, because there are a lot of conservatives out there who just, and conservatives more so than any, the young people is difficult. Some I've gotten, but like, they're really entrenched in what their beliefs just go all over the place. And like, I part of me feels like Yuri Bezmenov was right and that they're lost. But like, at least on some major issues. I mean, when you get generations of people who can't tell a man from a woman, it's hard to get into a complicated constitutional discussion with them. but at the same time, there are a lot of people out there who legitimately read some stuff. Maybe they saw it from the John Birch Society or some of the other. There's a few other conservative groups that are preaching the Marxist message on this issue, and like, they hear this stuff and they get scared. But then, I start showing them Madison's notes. I start showing them Federalist Papers. I start showing them actual document. I'm not giving them an article. And they realize that all they have to rebut me with are articles. And in most cases, I'm telling them before they even send it, I'm like, Don't even bother me with that Publius nonsense. Don't bother me with that Freedom Society article. I've read it a million times. Spare me the room in my comments. I know how the John Birch Society feels about it. And then they have nothing. And then it's like, well, that's all the articles I have, you know. And so, whereas I'm giving them stuff that they not only haven't seen or read before, but is totally changing the way that they look at the history of this country, and I'm doing it with actual documents. So there's a big difference. So Brenda Edwards says, I'm for those who are for freedom of speech. I'll listen to anyone, but will they listen to me? Amen. Yeah, so we don't know if they'll listen to you, right? I mean, you got to kind of pick your fights, right? If you know you're dealing with a coconut, you know, you get into it a little bit, you have some back and forth, but if you know how you usually know when someone's locked in and has no case, and it doesn't matter, that like they won't acknowledge that they have no case and they just want to keep going, is when they start insulting you. When they start popping off insults and all that, you know, that's when you know that, like, all right, this is a person who's not interested in new information. They've been preached to by someone, all right? Whether, you know, sometimes it's on the right too. There are some people on the right on the far right, who believe some weird crap. So, like, you know, but they've been preached to for so long, and they're so embedded in what they think that they can't change that, right? And the only way someone snaps out of that, you know, that Brandon Stroka guy, you know, I don't have an image of him now, but he started that hashtag walkaway movement. Like I saw that movement as being amazing. Now, this was, you know, he's a white gay dude who I think he was living in New York City. I don't remember the city. It was a major city, though. And like one day it just hit him that the left in his city were using gay people as political pawns. And he realized that you know, and he gave a talk on it, as to what it was that happened to him that made him realize that they really didn't give a damn, but his eyes opened. Now, you know, in his case, personally, I would like to take him a step further and let him realize the conservative Republican politicians, I should say, they don't really give a damn about you either, those people that are in office right now. Now, there's some in office who do, but they're few. And the fact is, you know, this has become so infected with that nonsense and this poisonous, you know, left, right. It's nothing more than a divisive tactic, which is another reason why I love Article 5. It's another reason why I cling to it so much and I won't let it go. And because in the end, it's the issues that we're talking about with Article 5 are fairly universal. I mean, they poll very well for all sides of the aisle. I mean, Democrats are about 55% in support of the amendments. You know, Republicans obviously are more than that. They're somewhere in the 70s, and then independents fall about 65 or so. You know, and this goes by the nationwide polls. When they do them state to state, they come into similar numbers because these issues like term limits, government overreach, I mean, we're all affected by this stuff. If you're a Democratic voter and you were just told and you were hesitant to take the vaccine for whatever reason, whether it's because you just didn't want it, maybe you thought it was poisonous, maybe you just have a health condition and you're not sure how it's going to react to it, or, you know, maybe it's a religious reason that you don't want to take it, whatever. But if you're a Democrat and you just don't want to take it and you went through that hell of almost losing your career and your livelihood, well, then yeah, you're supporting government overreach amendments, right? And you're not asking what side is putting up the amendment. You don't care. You just want the damn thing done. You just want them to stop having the ability to do these crazy, crazy things. I mean, this run that we've done with COVID, I mean, there's no other explanation I can personally come to. And I'd love to hear what people think about it, but like, there's no explanation that I can personally come to about that whole process with all the weird mask rules and all the bizarre stuff. All right, the overblowing of it, the not allowing people to get treatments that thousands and thousands of doctors are using globally successfully, and like lying about studies like that frickin' what's the name of that? It's like one of the most popular journals out there. Starts with an L. I forget the name. But anyway, they had the fake study there. You know, Fauci's out talking about that. Like, all this creepy stuff is going on, and we're all just kind of rolling with it. And I'm just kind of, it was almost like we all just became zombies. You know, I just want, like, no one stopped to think that the things that you're asking them to give you back were already yours. Right? When they tell you, you know, COVID has done damage to this country and to this world, COVID hadn't done that damage. They did. World leadership did that damage. They're the ones who were making one horrible decision after another. And it's just like, and they sit there and then they turn around and say, oh, well, COVID taught us. COVID taught us. No, you taught us. You taught us that you're some creepy freaking people up there. And it's important that people like come to that realization. You know, I talk to this all the time. You got to be a little bit humble in the way that you see things or the way that you saw things if you already started seeing, right? So like I put this shirt together because once you see, you cannot unsee. And I say it all the time on the show because it's incredibly true. It's incredibly true, right? And underneath, in very small print, it says the Great Reset, hashtag BlackRock, hashtag Disney, just a bunch of hashtags, hashtag Save the Children. And I made them small so that you have to walk up to see it. I made them small intentionally so that someone actually has to make an effort to see it, right? It's like symbolism. Like, okay, what does that say? I can't see it. I can't see it. Get closer. Like, you got to make an effort to see it because that's the way you have to live your life. You have to make an effort to see these things. You can't go through life saying, oh, I don't want to deal with that. Oh, I don't want to talk. Oh, this is one of those people that are going to talk about great resets and all that stuff. Oh, this is one of those people. Like, you can't be that person anymore. You could have been, 10 years ago. You shouldn't have been. I was 10 years ago. Right? I was cheering on the Patriot Act. I was cheering on, more than that, 20 years ago, I was cheering on the Patriot Act. I was cheering on the war in Iraq. I thought it was going to, I bought the narrative. I was all in. I was arguing with people over how it makes sense and how there was no way for us to know that, or they got the weapons out before we got there or, whatever the narrative was, I was chomping it up and I was freaking rolling with it. Kathy Burns, I need that shirt, George. It's so true. It is true. It's very true. This shirt's actually I'm going to make it available. This was the first. I had this printed just so I could see how it looks, but I actually really liked it. So I am going to put it in the t-shirt store. You could get there through our website. Check in a day or so. I haven't put it up yet. We do have a lot of other cool stuff in there, though, as well. So definitely will not miss the opportunity for a shameless plug there. But we have another one here. What's this? I was against every move they made. None of it made sense. And if you're on another channel and you're wondering, you're like, hey, I'm the only one watching on this channel. Like that happens on Twitch a lot. The comments are coming from 4 different channels. So you only have 1 or 2 people on yours or 3 or 4 people, but then there might be 7 or 8 on another one. So just, bear with me on it. Normally I'll post the comments up. Unfortunately, the software comes with a widget that is not allowing that to happen. It's kind of driving me insane. But all right. But it says I was against every move they made. None of it made sense. My doctor said if you got sick, not to come to the clinic. Really? You're my doctor? Yeah, exactly. Really? You're my doctor. And we're talking, now look, I've had COVID twice. I got it very early, and I wasn't sure if that was COVID that I had until I got it again, which was recent, maybe a few months ago. And the fact is, okay, it sucked, but like, I got over it. Like, it was one really bad day. Some people my wife had 4 bad days, but like, and she's vaccinated. How funny is that? The irony. But like, whereas I had 1 bad day, my kids were largely unaffected. My daughter got a little bit with it and, a day or so of not feeling so well. She didn't have that really bad day. But like, we all went through it, and it's like, it's not scary. There's just nothing scary about it. Like, pointing to me, these 85-year-old people with heart conditions and this and that, those people are the people who die from the flu. They die from pneumonia. They're fragile people. These are people who could die from a lot of things very similar to COVID. But people that don't normally die from those things generally don't die from those things. Like, you need to have some sort of condition in place. It's incredibly rare. We're talking about a disease or a virus with a 99.97 success rate to get through. I mean, but they took this and they changed the whole friggin' narrative for the world. Like, they changed the whole narrative for the world. I mean, they literally, and still today, the World Economic Forum guys are preaching it. I've shown you unlimited amount of videos of them saying, and you can go to YouTube and just go to World Economic Forum's YouTube channel. Ever since 2020, these Economic Forum meetings are no longer under the covers. I mean, I was stunned at how open they were. I had watched some of these in the past, what they'd let you see, and there were some hints of stuff like this, but never like they do. Like, now they talk to you like it's all, now there's like advertising. It's like insane. When I saw the poster they put out, I think it was a few years ago, but I only saw it recently. But a couple years ago they put it out, where with the kid smiling and it says you'll own nothing and be happy. Like that you got some kind of cojones if you're gonna go ahead and say that out loud. Like, you got some kind of, and that ain't it. They'll tell you, they talk about it matter-of-factly. They're not like, we hope everyone agrees with this. We hope this is something. No, they're like, nope, COVID has showed us that, that the global system is fractured and we need to, and we need to make changes and interweave everything and let's go globalist. And that's what the attitude is. That should scare that should scare you to death. If you don't understand what going globalist means, it means they have to take down things like, the US dollar. Like they're trying to get us, they're trying to knock us down because they can't bring everybody else up in their current systems to where we are, even in the struggle that we're in now. Everyone else is still far below. So in order to get this equity that they want, they have to knock us down. That means knock you down. All right? And there's only one way for you to fight that. There's only one way for you to fight that. All right? And it's this is some of the creepy bunch right here. All right? And of course the devil leading the way, right? So how all these things tie in, I know that these people are definitely not working on the side of God. That's for damn sure. Which only leaves one alternative, right? But in the end, whether you're religious or not religious, it doesn't matter, because a lot of these freakazoids believe in this garbage. All right? A lot of these freakazoids believe in the occult, okay? And when I say believe in it, I don't mean I believe in hell as well. All right, I believe in the devil just from a faith perspective. But whether or not this is the devil doing these things, there's a lot of creepy stuff going on in Hollywood and everywhere else that kind of make you think that. But in the end, it doesn't matter. Even if you're an atheist, they believe it. Like, all these people with money and power, they believe this stuff. So you could be like, there's no devil, ha 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 ha. Well, it doesn't matter. The people who think there is are worth ridiculous sums of money, and they want to take everything you own and then rent it back to you, because that's how you make people happy, apparently, right? So the Elon Musks of the world are going to play this out, and I don't know how big of a thorn in these people. I can't think that he doesn't know. I can't, it'd be it's just impossible. There's no way he doesn't know. Now, he's very eccentric, and he doesn't hang out in these circles and those types of things. I get it. And there's definitely an element of this where, people like Trump didn't know. I'm 100% positive that when Trump came into office, he was stunned by half the crap that he saw in office. I'm just stunned. That he was stunned, I mean. I'm 100% positive of that. That he walked in there thinking, I'm going to clean this swamp, I'm going to do this. And people just from, different areas of the military, different areas of maybe, maybe the secretary positions. People, people who have been there for a long time. Some of the good people who don't like the stuff that are going on were probably telling him some stuff that was making him go, "Holy crap! What did I just get myself into?" And then him being him was just like, "Come on, let's fight." Right? But like, let's face it, every president that's tried to tackle these people seems to get, anyone who gets in the way of these globalists, presidents included, seems to take a bullet, right? We had Kennedy, who was outspoken against this stuff. We all know that story, right? And then what? Then we get Reagan, right? We get Reagan, again, all about the United States, America first, whole 9 yards. He takes a bullet, right? And then, of course, here comes Trump. He gets away without the bullet. So, probably just because security's that much better now. I don't know. But, like, in the end, most of these people take bullets, right? And it's like, it takes, somebody like Elon Musk to not know these things with the money that he has just seems crazy to me. So then it's like, well, I don't know how to take him. I want to take him as somebody who's just all about, all about free speech and that there are other areas. I mean, obviously the left consider him an uber conservative psycho, rightist. I don't see him that way at all. I just see him, he's like Howard Hughes to me. Like he's just like an eccentric billionaire who likely will innovate a ton of things before he passes, assuming, there isn't an unfortunate accident. But what does that mean in the scope of everything that's going on? Like, is he an enemy of the World Economic Forum? Or is he want to be in that club and is just saying, no, it's just a free speech thing for me. Right? So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I'm very fascinated by Elon Musk. I never really thought twice about him before. I just thought, oh, he's like Howard Hughes, just kind of waiting for him to go crazy and, and like lock himself in a room forever. And Brenda Edwards says, great message. I agree with you, Mr. George. Thank you, Brenda. Yeah, I appreciate that, and if there's someone there that doesn't agree, if there's someone like, hey, you're crazy, you're nuts, none of this stuff is happening, etc., I'm more than welcome to discourse. I'm more than welcome to discourse, either in the comments or anywhere else. Normally, we get a few devout communists on Twitch, which is why I leave them up. We don't get a lot from Twitch, but I don't promote Twitch at all. But like when we get something from Twitch, there's two things I like from Twitch. One, that we get people from all over the world, and that two, we get opposing opinions almost exclusively. We don't get any. There are like no conservatives on all of Twitch. I don't know if conservatives don't like gaming channels or whatever, but there are no like conservatives that ever pick up on Twitch, which I find fascinating. So I keep them on for that reason. I literally had someone a couple of weeks ago tell me, they're like, I'm a communist. What are you? I'm like, you see my backdrop, buddy? like I could tell you there's a lot of things that you could assume I am, but one thing you're never going to assume I am is a communist. That would be the worst guess ever, right? So I don't know. I don't know. I'm just curious to know. We've got about 18 people on right now across the platforms. So if someone has an opinion on it, and if you're on Rumble, you'll have to. You can. I have you open separately on Rumble, so I don't have Rumble streaming in with my main chat. I have YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook on that. But I have Rumble open to the right of me, and I'm checking it, but it doesn't appear. We've gotten some viewers, but I haven't gotten any comments. So just to put that in perspective, and if you jumped on late, if you could do me a favor, just try to share this content, right? Because we want to get these conversations out. We want to get more people engaged in them. I mean, the goal really is to start sharing information. And even after an episode ends, and if there's something that you picked up or something you have a question on, email me. You can email me at info@thepatriotthinktank.com, or you can just comment on that video. I keep track of all this stuff. So I'm psycho like that. I keep track of all this stuff. You got questions on Article 5. Maybe you came across one of these John Birch people and you're confused and they tried to scare you with all this madness and it sounded like it made sense. just reach out to me. Just be like, hey, this is what they told me. This is the case they made. This is why they said it was true. And then I will arm you with all of the source information you need to debunk that. I've been making a living on this now. Well, I don't make anything off this channel, so let's not say make a living. But at the end, I've been doing this like it's my job, on multiple platforms, having these debates, really engaging people, really, really digging my heels in and trying to get them as much source information as I can to make the case, right? And we have a ton of videos on the channel on all the platforms that are directly like that episode was dedicated strictly to Article 5, not so much where, we'll talk about something crazy going on like the Great Reset and then tie it in to Article 5, like I'm about to do in like 2 minutes. But like in the end, those are designed to just educate you, right? So one of them is Article 5 for Dummies, and then you can watch the episodes on that. Just explains what it is, how it works. Our website does the same thing. You can go to conventionestates.com. They got a wealth of information there. And if you're fired up about it and you want to do something about it, if you're tired of just getting mad on Facebook about it, or every day you got to see, another video of Biden falling down the stairs, or Kamala Harris doing some heckle laugh at a world forum. Like, if you're just tired of seeing this stuff take place, right, with these mandates and with everything of the things that are impacting your life, then know that there's a way to change the big things. Like, it's not lost. We're not lost to a place where, we can't fix this stuff. It's the problem that we have is that as a people, as an American people, we've lost touch with how this country is supposed to work. And we allowed it to slip away. And I'm guilty of it as much as anyone else. But it's not about pointing blame. It's not about pointing fingers. It's about realizing it. It's about realizing it, coming to that realization, humbling ourselves a little bit, because we did, every generation has contributed to this problem. There's a part of me that doesn't even believe that it's fair to blame Gen Z and whatnot for, thinking that there's no such, that men and women are not, that there's more than men and women and all these things. Like it's because it was the past failures of not realizing what they were pumping into these kids' heads. I mean, look how triggered they got with this HB 1557 that passed in Florida. I posted something to my page, to my personal page, that basically said, I think there should be I'm thinking there should be a registry for any teacher who was angry or quit their job over the passage of that bill, because they can't talk about sex with fourth graders. It's that creepy. But there's a generation of people who believe in that stuff, and it's crazy to me that we've let it come to this point. But what gets me more is that we're making efforts. Grassroots in all these states are doing a tremendous job. We brought 4 states on board in 3 months. That was, that's a huge feat. We still got Pennsylvania, who looks great, to come on this year. Iowa to come on this year. This is all going on locally. This is all going on grassroots. This is all people in their states getting pissed off, going to their state legislatures. And your state legislator is not the same as Congress. You can approach these people. You find out who this person is, and we've got links on almost every state to find your representative. That'll take you to Cause's website, by the way, where you just put in your address, they locate your representative, sign the petition, they send him a letter right there, boom. But now you got his name, right? You got his name. Throw that in Ballotpedia. They'll give you his Facebook page. They'll give you his Twitter account or whatever he's on, all right? And you go ahead and start engaging him. Write him a handwritten letter. They talk about these letters in session. I can tell you, I've watched hours of debate as they debated these Article 5 resolutions, and I can tell you, just listening to it, you can feel how local it is. You can feel how, and it suddenly makes sense to you why the founders did it this way, why they wrote in Article 5 this way. It suddenly, when you watch these legislators talk, you suddenly realize that, because they're talking, you never hear this in Congress, in the House or the Senate in Washington, where someone will come up and they're talking about, today, you know, one of my delegates stopped by my office and told me, you know, and then they go on to tell you what they told you. You know, yesterday I got a call from one of my constituents, and did I say delegate before I meant constituent? So, you know, I got a call from one of my constituents, and they told me, you know, X, Y, and Z. And you know, I've got a flood of emails coming in. I've got letters coming in. Like they know this stuff's coming in. They're paying attention to it. I guarantee you, Nancy Pelosi has Mitch McConnell. These people have no idea who's written them, who's asked what. You know, that stuff is all vetted by staffers and thrown in the trash. Maybe they give you a generic response back that they give to everybody. Like they just pay somebody to handle that. Like these people are reading this stuff and they're reacting to it. There are people who are standing up in these state legislatures and a year ago, 2 years ago, they were opposed to this. But they went and started researching it because they're like, if this is so bad, how could there be so many freaking of my constituents who are generally people like me, right? Because that's kind of how you get elected, right? So if they're people like you that get you elected and they're all telling you to do something that you've been told is crazy, you start reading on it, right? And they'll talk about that too. And like, you know, once I started really reading it, once I get into the history, here, now I'm for it. And now you're seeing the states start to come aboard. And Joe Biden is like our greatest asset. The more psycho stuff he does, the more states come on board for convention of states, right? Now we've got, you know, there's probably another 17 or 18 that can vote on their resolutions this year. All right, 19 are already done. So here's a comment in Bella Vista, Arkansas. Our local city election votes are counted in California. That's strange. That's strange. I'm not sure what that's all about, but yeah, saying that they're saying nothing will change. They'll teach the same without parents even knowing it. And that's the thing, is that they teach this stuff for so many decades without parents knowing. What happened when parents found out? What happened? Well, last year, school board recalls almost tripled the year before. Okay? Because generations like mine, like Generation X, baby boomers, etc., and we're all guilty because this started in they started doing this stuff in 1955. The hippies were the first ones that the Russians were actually celebrating a success with. Like Yuri Bezmenov tells this whole story in like 1984. He was saying 3 generations in 1984 at that point were indoctrinated, but I'm not seeing that much. But because we had Reagan to break it up a little bit. But like, point is, it's been going on for a long time. And this kind of garbage has been in our schools for a long time. I've shown that poster that my daughter found in her high school classroom right here in suburbia, California. It's not LA, it's not Sacramento, it's not San Francisco, but it's a poster. You can Google this. You can Google this on your own. All you have to remember are the words "Welcome to the party" and write communism after it. And you're gonna see Mao Zedong on like DJ tables with a party hat on. They've got Stalin, Fidel Castro, Karl Marx is laying down and it's crazy. They're all wearing party hats and it says "Welcome to the party." They've amassed on one poster like 5 of the biggest murderous killers in modern history and treated it as if there's a party to be thrown that you're joining, right? Because they're welcoming you to the party. Like if I walk into that classroom, my daughter won't tell me which classroom it is or where it is, but like if I walk into that classroom and see something like that, I will walk up right there and rip the friggin' thing off the wall. And then I'll show up next week and rip it down again. If I go to any of her like Meet the Parents events, which they haven't really been doing because of the whole COVID thing, if those things start again and I walk into a classroom and I see stuff like that, it's coming off the wall. I'm tearing it down. I could care less. I could care less. They could try and charge me with vandalism. They could do whatever they want to do. But I'm going to tear it down. I'm going to tear it down for the channel, though. I'm going to go ahead and have it on video so everybody understands what I was looking at before they start talking about I just walked into school and started trashing the place. So here's Brenda. Brenda Edwards, stay strong. You're right on. In the name of Christ Jesus. Amen. Absolutely. Yes. So, you know, and again, you know, I will say this, though, from a faith perspective, faith is a little bit different. But like, you know, there's a good amount of people out there who kind of just blow everything off and are just like, whatever, it's Revelations, and Jesus is gonna come, he's gonna sort this all out. Like no, like that's so you can't sit by if you're a Christian. I don't care, any faith, any of the peace-loving faiths. If you're a person of faith, you cannot sit by and watch evil take place and just say, Jesus will handle it. That's a lazy cop-out, dude, and it drives me nuts when I hear it. It drives me nuts when I hear it. You know what? I'm going to be in this battle. When Jesus shows up and says, I got this, all right. Then I'll go ahead and back off and be like, you know what? You got it. Who am I to say? But in the end, until that moment, like there's never a moment where I'm sitting there going, well, all these crazy people will just be, all these billionaire sociopaths, they'll just be handled, but Jesus is just going to come and fix it all. So why even worry about it? Like, it's our job to do good. Like, and doing good includes not watching evil take place. Like, that's a part of the package. All right? You're going to go ahead and explain, what if Jesus doesn't come until they've already taken it over for a while and we're suffering for whatever amount of time? That suffering all falls on you. You did nothing to stop it. Like claiming to know Jesus' ultimate plan, outside, I get that the Bible lays out revelations and such, but like Jesus has a way of picking the strangest person and picking, the last person you would think, to do the greatest task. And like never do I sit back and just assume that I know, what he's going to do. Like, if there's evil in front of me, I'm going to confront it. And that's period. And everybody should be doing that. And I can tell you right now, the evil in the world that we are confronting needs to be dealt with via Article 5. Because the United States turning around is how the whole game turns around. They have no superpower level country that's on board with this psychosis. Except us. Like the one country that they have is the most powerful one of the bunch. And it's taken them forever to try and weaken it to the stance that it's at right now. But the fact that we would just sit down and leave the last constitutional bullet in the chamber and just unilaterally disarm ourselves as these psychos come in with their universal basic income and buying up all these homes and taking over the food supply with this synthetic meat garbage that frickin' Bill Gates keeps promoting as he buys up frickin' farmland at a ridiculous rate. Like, what does Bill Gates need to be the largest farmland owner in the United States? That should creep you out, right? And somebody like Elon Musk, I want to believe that this guy, like that we got one of these big boys with us, That's what I want to believe. Whether I believe it or not, there's a difference between wanting to believe something and believing it. But right now, it seems to be the case. So I'm going to roll with it. If he gives me a reason to think otherwise, then so be it. But in the end, I think it's important that everybody be that way. And that's why we started this channel a year ago, was so that people can start questioning things. People start looking at the world around them and realize what's going on. And realize that critical theory, we've done our early episodes were all kind of focused around that. Critical theory and its impact. People like Ibram X. Kendi and what they're actually teaching, make the woke military. And, all of these changes have been taking place. Each one's been an isolated issue, but they're all towards the same goal. Okay, when they started with this 6-month moratorium, so they could go through all our men and women that are serving, they're going through all their social media feeds to find to find pro-Trump stuff. Like, this is crazy stuff. Like, for an American citizen, this is crazy, crazy stuff. It's not crazy if you grew up in China, Russia, even some European countries, but it's crazy as hell if you grew up here. But lo and behold, it was happening. And lo and behold, they were dishonorably discharging people, or maybe not dishonorably for some of them, they were just discharging. Then they started, making examples out of people that wanted to protest the election. showing up at their house with SWAT vehicles, and it's just a guy and his daughter. Like, you can't just continue to just go through life like, well, I'll do whatever they want if they just make sure I can still go to the mall. If I can go get my pizza, and I don't have to, like, I don't have to worry about, not getting, I can still go to Costco. That's good. I know they shut down all the small businesses, but at least, heck, I go to Costco anyway. I don't, I can live without the small businesses. Just let me go where I want to go. Let me travel. Can I travel? I'll take whatever drug you want if you'll just let me travel. What do I have to do? I have to put on this funny hat? I'll put it on if you just let me go. If you let me create the illusion that I have freedom, I will do whatever you want. That is where we are descending into. And no one is paying it. Well, not no one. Tons of us now are starting to pay attention to it. But we still have that 40% who don't get the message. We still have that 40% who are, and when I say 40%, that's off the Solomon Asch study on conformity that's been replicated dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of times. You might have seen it on Brain Games where the beep goes off and the girl stands up and then sits down because everybody in the room was doing it. So she just started doing it. That's 40% of those people knew what they were doing was completely irrational, but did it anyway because they didn't want to break from the group or they didn't want to make waves. Like, people that don't want to make waves are enabling this madness. Because what's happening is you've got 30% on one side who believe that every time that beep goes off, you absolutely have to stand up and it's meaningful and it has purpose. And then there's another 30% who think that this is all BS. Why the hell do you people keep standing up for some random beep at an eye doctor? And then you got that 40% in the middle who enable the crazy 30%. Why? Because the crazy 30% now think that they're a 70%, right? They look up and they see 70% of the population standing up, sitting down, taking their mask, turning it around, take it down, smoke, you can take it down, put it back up, blah, blah, blah. Like all this craziness. All this craziness. When they know that it's not, when they know it does nothing, but they just keep doing it, the 30% swear that they really are 70%. Because if you're that person, because of you. Because you don't want people to look at you if someone confronts you and you don't want to take a mask off or not do some weird task that they're asking you to do. Like, that has to stop. Everybody needs to just, if it doesn't make sense, don't do it. Like, just don't do it. Since everybody can be bought, it seems, it's from Barbara Norman, like that DA in California that reduced the sentence on that gang member. Barbara, this is what I was talking about earlier with our second episode ever. I really encourage everyone to go back and watch that episode. The second half of it is when we started tackling, because it's an hour and 14 minutes long. So if you don't want to watch the whole thing, I get it. But you go to the second half, we talked all about the DAs that George Soros has been funding. We provided the paper trail on the website. If you go to the episode on our website, you can find it on YouTube as well. But if you go to it on the website, it'll still be the YouTube link. But on my webpage, I have enough room to put all the sources. And you can see where the money ties in. I mean, we went straight to the Portland DA's own website. And the case that I was making is that it's not black people burning down their own neighborhoods with these BLM movements. It's all young white Antifa kids. The same kids that show up at January 6th and are smacking these windows with billy clubs and doing all that with their shields and all that crap. They're the same organization. But, like, people don't realize that. They show up beforehand. They burn the frickin' place down. In the case of the BLM riots, they show up, they burn the frickin' buildings, and then here comes the march coming through. You watch the episode. It's a good episode. And then Gingrich tries to point it out, and this Duterte on Fox News and her little compadre are like denying that Soros has anything to do with this. That triggered the entire episode. That scene, and we play that scene in the thing, that triggered the entire episode. It's insane to me. But this is where we are. And I don't know if these news people believe this stuff, or like in that case with Newt, like she heard something in her ear. Like she heard something in her ear. Like I'm not sold on Fox either. These people are all freaking tied in with these schmucks too. Like I'm not even. They keep a Tucker or so around just to so they could keep that illusion going. But the whole rest of the crew, right? So Tucker and Hannity are kind of there, and then you've got the whole rest of the crew get all the in between show people have all like lost their minds. And like it's just crazy to me that the country. It's not crazy to me that the world would descend like this. It's crazy to me that this country would descend like this. But yet here we are. So, and I mean, look, when it comes down to it, right? It's there's only a limited amount of things that we can do. All right, in the sense of trying to, because it seems like so much, right? You've got all these billionaires. How do you compete with these billionaires? Like, what if they just crash our dollar? What if they just do this? What if they keep with these pathogens and bird flus and like, what if that keeps happening? Like, how do you combat that? You combat it by taking over. Like once the United States is back in good hands, all right. Once our systems are set up where our Congress can no longer spend $100 million to study chickens doing cocaine, like once we're back to normal, the way it's supposed to run, then we can start looking at these people like, hey, the United States is pissed off, and guess who's in our freaking crosshairs? And all the money in the world's not going to save him then. All the money in the world's not going to save him then. And the dollar will be soaring back, and everything will be starting to... Yeah, we'll be making sacrifices too, because we got penance to pay for the damage we've allowed to let happen. So don't get it twisted. If you're sucking on the government tit for something, all right, you can bet that with a balanced budget amendment, at least for a while, whatever it is that you were scraping out of there, it's probably not going to be available. People are going to have to learn to live without dependency in the most independent nation ever in the history of this world. That is how far we've descended. So, all right. Well, Barbara, Brenda, Kathy, we got Sheila, and I believe Scott's in there too. So, plus a few others. Just want to say thank you for pitching in. I appreciate it. There is one note that I want to leave you on before I go, and that note is this.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
The greatest trick ever.
And like that,